Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here, joined by Sam, and we are talking about Saltburn. I'm a depressed Tottenham Hotspur fan, but we're talking about movies today to distract me. So, let's talk about it. This is Emerald Fennell's follow up to Promising Young Woman. It shares some consistency as far as like the form without she's handling the subject matter, but it really feels like she's going in a wildly different direction with all of the themes that she's tackling. So it was a really interesting addition to her filmography. Very curious to see where she goes from here. But I saw it at Chicago International Film Festival. You just saw it recently it was at a screening.
Yeah, it was a screening on Saturday.
So let's get into it. I'll let you kick off with thoughts.
Yeah, so this just made me think about Promising Young Woman in the context of, the reception it got and how it played throughout award season. And I remembered that Promising Young Woman was originally supposed to come out in April of that year. And I think that if COVID didn't happen and, that was just how it went, I don't think that movie would have gotten a single Oscar nomination. Like, I think it would have been it would have made money at the box office for like the indie box office, and I think like people would have talked about it. But just considering, like, if you look at 2019 and how the Oscar contenders shaped up that year in 2018 and how really in the 2010s, no movies that came out in like the first half of the year really got nominated for Best Picture. So once it got moved and actually released and people, saw it, it was one of the most beloved critically from the main group. So of course, like, it was probably a top 5 contender. But watching Saltburn made me realize that she really doesn't make movies for the Oscars or movies like to win awards. I think a lot of this movie relies on entertaining and shocking the audience. And I can understand why people criticize it for being vapid or relying too much on the shock value and not having enough like true substance, but that wasn't necessarily a problem for me, just because I love the world building, I love the characters, I love the shock of it all. It's such a fun, glorious movie. The lighting and color grading is
Linus Sandgren was on
unbelievable.
another level.
Oh, like my favorite cinematographer working today, probably.
I mean, like
Yeah.
people compared this to Babylon, which I don't entirely agree with.
People just like
It's
to say that because it was divisive and
It
shot
was
by the same.
divisive and shocking, and also shot by Linus Sandgren.
Yeah, it's
But, like,
not so.
I don't necessarily see the comparison. But yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting because I had a lot of fun watching this, and I came out on a very big high because there are wild twists and turns all the way through. Keoghan, Jacob Elordi, are both great in the film. I mean, there's lots of great supporting performances. Rosamund Pike is
Rosamund
really
Pike
fun.
is
Yeah.
so cunt in this movie.
Yep.
Like, if you wanna pick the cuntiest performance of the year, it's her. And you'll see why I'm saying that when you watch the movie.
Like, probably.
Her deliveries are so, like, I don't know how to explain it. There's just a certain tone, and the
Yeah.
only way I can put it is cunt.
That's yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But, like, no, I mean, it's I think some people are going into this expecting, like, a queer film. It isn't entirely that. It's
No.
just like a a sex film. Like, it's
It's a
like
movie about desire, for sure,
yes,
and, like,
yeah.
how one's desires cause
And
them.
just, like, the most, like, carnal, animalistic, stripped back sense of just, like, when humans, like, want something and desire something, the lengths that they'll go to achieve it.
Yes.
Um, and, like, it's really, really interesting to kind of watch it unfold in, just this really deliberately, I think, shocking way. It is interesting bringing up Promising Young Woman because Promising Young Woman is a film that, I similarly liked a lot and enjoyed a lot the first time I watched it. On a rewatch, it went down for me quite a bit, because it didn't, like, I think, provide much substance beyond just, like, the shock value and, like, the substance it did provide and, like, the thematic work it did do felt really conflicting, especially considering the ending, and we'll get into that. There are already a lot of conversations about that. And similarly with Saltburn, I like, the more I think about it, the less the less highly I rate it, I guess. It doesn't change, like, my enjoyment of it, necessarily, because obviously I haven't watched it again. But, it does feel a bit empty, and I love when movies are completely vapid and deranged and, crazy and gross. Like, I mean, Pink Flamingos is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, I have absolutely no problem with that, but it felt a bit empty. Like, I like for when I leave a film for there to be something for me to chew on, for something for me to like engage with, and just get deeper into what the film is attempting to do and say. And well, like I had so much fun watching Saltburn. There was nothing really for me to engage with afterwards, except for just like remembering, like, holy shit, that was crazy. Like, I was holy shit, that was fucking crazy. Like, but that's it. And I don't think that that's really anything to like engage with in any meaningful capacity.
Yeah. I agree. I just don't know if Emerald Fennell necessarily cared about that. Like,
Sure, which is perfectly fine. I think that I think she did exactly what she wanted to.
yeah,
It just didn't.
exactly. It's clear that she had a
Yeah,
vision. She executed it as exactly how she
and I
wanted.
enjoyed it a lot. I don't wanna come and make it sound like I'm
Yeah.
being negative on this. Like, what she did, I liked a lot, and I think she was able to do exactly what she wanted to, and I am all here for it. It wasn't necessarily, like, so, and this sounds
Yeah, it's
so
not
annoying
the
for saying this.
greatest film ever made. It isn't like a piece of, cinema that leaves you,
Right, like, I want the film, I know, I want films to be doing a bit more than just, like, entertain me. That sounds so annoying, but just, like, be, like, this, like, entertaining thing that I
you're
can just,
making
like,
this sound like a Marvel movie, Trevor.
watch for 2 hours, and then not have to think about it ever again. Like, I want something that's gonna, like, mean something, and I don't know if that's necessarily this, and if that's not what she was going for, which I don't think it is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It just it didn't connect with me as much as I feel it could have, because there is framework to work in some themes about like class hierarchy and all of these types of
Yeah,
things, like, but it kind of toes on the border of that, and it never felt like it actually fully jumped into the pond and like actually explored those things. It's just kind of like, and she just does kind of the same thing as Promising Young Woman. She just kind of like shows the things that are thematically intriguing without actually exploring them, which was just a bit frustrating when thinking about it afterwards and trying to engage with it.
I definitely think that part of the frustration you have is sort of like the general public reception on these kinds of movies. I mean, you could just go back to the summer and look at Barbie and how the general public saw that movie thematically, and a lot of people who are normies like that
How many
called
times are we gonna use air quotes?
the movie radical
Yeah,
and very, intense in what it was saying.
which it's
And
not.
it's not at all. And I think that with Promising Young Woman, I obviously think that Emerald Fennell is like discussing very sensitive, topics that
Yeah,
ignite conversation and are extremely complex and nuanced. But I oddly enough don't see that movie as one that's primary intention is to discuss those ideas, but more so be
to
a
entertain.
where Carrie Mulligan absolutely kicks ass and you can
Yeah.
be shocked and appreciate how this story is
She's
constructed.
just showing things to create discussion without actually, like, exploring the things to, like.
It's an odd way to approach it, but I actually kinda like it. Like, I think she knows what she wants from an audience. She talks about how
Yeah.
she loved that people were so divided on Promising Young Woman, and she loved that
Mhm.
people, were mad about it, and some people, like, really loved it, and I think that that's a really interesting mindset to have as a filmmaker. I think it's much more interesting to
Yeah.
think that than say, "I just wanna make a movie that people enjoy." It's so much more interesting to like go into a process of making a movie. And as we said, I don't think she necessarily wants your main, your main ideas coming out of the movie to be chewing on a lasting message, even though, of course, all of our favorite movies have that. I think it's interesting that her mindset is, I want audience members to be shocked, appalled, whatever, and have a discussion about it. I want to ignite a conversation. And I want people to be mad. I want people to be
The
happy. And
thing
I want
is, and I brought up John Waters. John Waters does that, but his films are also about something.
well, maybe John Waters is just a better filmmaker. Maybe he
Right, and that's what I'm saying, because, like, Emerald Fennell feels like she's, like, and the thing that's, I don't know, because, like, I think there can be films that just exist to, like, shock, entertain, whatever, like, and those are all fine, but like, Saltburn to me, it feels like it's, like, caught in this weird in-between place where it's, like, it feels like it almost, like, wants to explore these themes because it's presenting this, like, very clear framework in which you can explore, like, social class hierarchy and, like, like the rich kids at the school, and then how that hierarchy compares to, like, the family and all of these types of things, and it's presenting them, and all of the puzzle pieces are there. It's like if somebody took, like, a jigsaw puzzle and put all the puzzle pieces where they were supposed to go, but then didn't actually connect them. But, like, you still see the picture, and the picture still looks pretty, and it's still fun and cool, but, like, it could have been so much better if you just put the puzzle pieces together. And it just I feel like it's just like it almost gets me there, and then it's just like leaves that last little bit, which is just I don't know, and that's just I think more of a personal thing. And I feel like I'm talking very negatively on this film. Like I love this film a lot. I think it's really, really fun. It's just the more I've tried to engage with it, usually when I come out of something like loving it, the more I try to engage with it, I just find something, deeper and I'm able to, like, enjoy it even more. And this is, like, one of the rare occasions where I come out of something loving it, and the more I try to engage with it, it just is giving me absolutely nothing.
Maybe then it's telling you not to engage with it as much and just
Right, but I like to engage with
I
things.
know. I think I don't disagree with you. I just don't care as much about that,
Right,
I
which is fair,
suppose.
and that's just, we approach film in different ways.
Yeah.
So we're gonna find different things to enjoy out of it. I do wanna speak positively on this though, because, like, I mean, some of these sequences are just insane. We talked about the cinematography, like, it's lit, like, so beautifully. There's a karaoke sequence in particular that, like, blew my mind.
And there's a
Um
sequence in a field that blew my
mm.
mind.
Um, I mean, obviously, Barry Keoghan and Jake Elordi are very hot.
Everyone
Um,
in this movie is really and what's his friend's name?
I don't know.
He's really hot too.
Yeah. I mean, everybody in this movie looks gorgeous. I
I
mean,
know.
like,
Also, before we move on, I don't think that the discussion of hierarchy or class critique in the movie is explored at all, but I actually do think that the exploration of human desire and, like, that thematic analysis is well fleshed out. I that is the one area where I do think this movie leaves more to chew on in terms of, like, thematic relevance.
sure, yeah. I mean, I think there's something there. I love how we went from "They're very hot" to "desire." Um, but, like, no, I think that there is something there, and it is like, if you were to say the film is about anything, I think it is, like, it
It's
isn't about,
that,
like it
yeah.
isn't about sexuality, which a lot of people think, like, this isn't I mean, I think you call it a queer film, but it's not a like
No, it's a there's queer, it's sort of intended. There's not really mentions of it. It's mostly just
It
fluid.
it all plays into the themes of just general human desire,
Yeah.
and this thing, like, I think that those pieces are there, and I do appreciate what is being done, but I just don't know, like, what is being said beyond humans do crazy stuff when they have intense desires, like, it still feels surface level to me, I guess. Like,
Okay.
I still don't know what it's doing beyond that.
Okay.
Surface level, I don't know, I don't know. It all feels very surface level, which again isn't a bad thing. It's just like, yeah, again, frustrating because I feel like it could have been more. But I think just like from a screenwriting standpoint, the use of perspective is really, really interesting. And how it kind of guides the audience's perspective, both through the cinematography, and then just also where the flow of the narrative is directed, and around which character, like who's the focal point of the narrative at given points in the stories, or in the story. And just with how many twists and turns there are, it's actually really impressive to kind of keep a steady perspective and feel like there is a relatively reliable narrative, and that we have these like kind of checkpoints and markers to like carry ourselves throughout the film, um, because by the end of it, without spoilers, the use of perspective becomes incredibly relevant. And I think the fact that this is something that does feel rewatchable for that, and for the use of perspective in the film, is a testament to just like Emerald Fennell is a very good storyteller. Like,
And she's
she,
great with character development and
yeah, yeah.
character arcs.
Like, she's fantastic at telling a story. I think, like, a lot of my problems with her work come with just, like, again, like, the thematic work, but just base level, just, like, storytelling. Like, she knows how to tell an intriguing story that is going to get you engaged and shocked and excited. And I honestly think that in that category, it's an improvement upon Promising Young Woman as far as just, like, her storytelling. I think it's like a really excellently crafted story. And it builds up all these characters to these absurd, insane moments. Which just the audience response when I saw it was
Oh,
crazy and
yeah.
so fun.
It
Like
really is the talented Mr. Ripley, but weirder, hornier, crazier, and sexier.
there,
Like,
I mean, there's a scene involving dirt,
and there's a scene involving a
a
bathtub,
bathtub,
and
and
there's this
during both of those, the audience is going, "Oh,
oh, yeah,
oh,"
there's a
like
lot of reaction there.
it was, and that's, like, really fun, but, like, it doesn't feel out of the ordinary, like, all of those moments feel earned, which I
Yeah,
think is important because you can just go shock for shock, and considering some of the lack of thematic depth, if they didn't feel earned as far as the storytelling, then I think is you get to, like, it becomes a problem where it's just, like, shock for shock's sake, but I really don't think it's that because even if some of the thematic stuff isn't at the level that I would maybe necessarily like, everything feels earned as far as the storytelling, which I do think really makes this film work in addition to, like, just the excellent performances.
yeah, absolutely. Barry Keoghan gives one of my favorite performances of the year. I
Yeah.
think this is the best performance he's ever given, and
Maybe Banshees. He's
no,
really good Banshees.
this is definitely better.
I don't know.
This is so much more and so much more interesting,
I mean,
and
they're very different performances.
yeah, but I think this is better.
Okay, well, you
Um,
also don't like Banshees.
I like it more than you do.
Do you? I don't
Yeah,
know if you do.
I do.
Well, but,
It's
we
his
can we can
and this is the best I've seen Rosamund Pike in a while. She's
yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
yeah, honestly, I haven't seen her this good in a really long time.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's get into awards since we're talking about actors because this movie isn't gonna get a single Oscar nomination. If anything, like, ASC goes for it, and maybe it can pick up a lone
Maybe
cinematography
it'll
award.
get, like, an original screenplay nomination at the Critics' Choice or something.
Right, like, it feels like something that yeah, that can slide in there, or, like, maybe Barry Keoghan can slide into, like, drama actor at the Globes, or just, like, I think it's not gonna get, like, completely ignored this award season. It's going to get mentions during
But
the
it's
award
just
season.
not the type of movie that
Like,
award
it'll probably get a few BAFTA nominations if I'm being honest.
outstanding British film?
Well, yeah, no, it's gonna get that, but, like, I mean, I think it's like, with, like, the jury system, like, they're
Maybe.
probably just going for it, like, it's gonna make the short lists for, like, screenplay and actor and all these things, like,
Maybe.
it's going to show up this award season. It isn't going to completely blank, but as far as on Oscar nomination morning, I would be surprised if it got anything at this
Yeah,
point.
I think it should get a screenplay, an actor, and supporting actress nominations. That would be really deserved, but I
I mean,
don't
cinematography is the big one for
oh,
me,
yeah,
and, like,
as
and the production design, if I'm being honest.
even, like, I wouldn't be mad if it was in Best Picture, but that's not happening, obviously, but it would be in my lineup for Best
No,
Picture.
it wouldn't be in my personal 10, but I wouldn't be mad about it. I think that'd be a fun nomination.
So good.
So, yeah, yeah. But no, overall, like, I feel like I've spoken very critically on this film. I still like the film a lot. And I would recommend seeing it. It's a great experience, especially
Especially
if you
in a
can see it with a
theater.
crowd in a theater. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Good film. Good film. I am feeling an 8 out of 10.
9.
All right. Well, those are our thoughts on Saltburn. You can follow us on social media and the links in the description in addition to supporting the SAG strikes. But until next time, thank you everybody for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.